Hi, welcome to this month's live Q&A. I'm Morgan, and I'm joined today with Schneider's VP of Maintenance Operations, Dan Simons. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
Today, Dan and I will be going through some of Schneider's maintenance and equipment highlights. We'll be talking through truck comfort and safety features, maintenance information and updates, and then an overview of Schneider's Maintenance Driver Ambassador Program. So as always, we are live and taking questions. So if you have any questions related to maintenance or equipment, make sure you drop them down below and we'll do our best to get them answered. So Dan, I was thinking that first we could talk through equipment. Would you be able to provide, first off, any insight into Schneider adding new trucks to its fleet?
Sure, absolutely. So just like most fleets, new equipment is a bit tough to get right now, but we're actually doing a pretty decent job with getting new deliveries to date. So we'll have a few hundred new tractors that have already delivered so far this year, and we've got a couple thousand more that are pending to be delivered yet this year. So we're starting to see some good progress with the OEMs and being able to get parts availability and start to get a little bit more fluid in their deliveries. But yeah, we're really excited about the new tractors that we're getting this year and in the years to come. But yeah, we are seeing quite a few deliveries starting to ramp up quite a bit right now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about like the driver comfort features that we spec our new trucks with. What features do you hear drivers talking about the most that they really enjoy when they're out on the road?
Yeah. So, automated transmission is probably the most talked about from a new driver perspective, right? So if you think back and go back to your early driving days, right? If you wanted to drive a stick or an automatic, it was a lot easier to learn off of an automatic. So that's been a great add for us. Obviously, we have APUs and bunk heaters in all our trucks as well. So they have some creature comforts to be able to do some things when they're not driving the truck with the APUs and power inverters to obviously power all the electronics that go into the truck. So those all come spec'd in our new equipment. Same thing with built-in refrigerators. So we started to add those a couple of years ago now. So all of our new trucks and a number of our old trucks have refrigerators already in them. So drivers can stock up on good quality food in the refrigerators versus eating out all the time. And then they all come equipped with satellite radio as well. So they have that as an option. And then we also have a driver tablet that we use from a workflow perspective and gives them a lot of cool information on that tablet as well. And obviously helps with their productivity and working through taking pictures of bill ladings and those types of things on the tablet.
Yeah, and what's cool about the tablet is they can take it outside of the truck.
Absolutely, yep, untethered. So they can take it with them, and if they need to get a picture of a load or whatever, we actually use that on the maintenance side as well with our SEMI app of being able to interact with the driver via chat. But also to take some pictures and get some video of what's happening with their truck.
Yeah, for sure. So what about safety? Like, I know safety first and always at Schneider, we spec our trucks with lots of safety features. What are like the top features that you're hearing drivers talk about regarding safety?
Yep, sure. So we put outward facing cameras in all of our trucks. And I want to be careful on how I say it because they're not inward facing, so they don't face the driver. They only face the roadway. And that has just been a great add for us. All too often we may have an incident that we're not at fault, and that camera really helps protect that driver and the company to make sure that we've got good video evidence of what happened with that scenario. So that's been a great add for us. Obviously, collision mitigation has been a fantastic add for us that will help prevent a rear end collision. And we've seen just a significant reduction in our rear end collision since we've installed that lane departure, side guard assist. Those types of things just keep us safe on the side of the vehicles as well, and really help us understand what's happening, especially in driver's blind spots with the tractor. So that's been a great add. Electronic stability control obviously is another one, and one of our newest features is air disc brake on all of the brakes on the tractor, which is a really good add. Helps with greatly reduce stopping distance. So obviously that's key in any situation, to be able to stop as quickly as possible. And that's our new spec is all air disc brake on the trucks as well.
Awesome. Just a reminder, we are live and we're specifically talking about equipment and maintenance today. So if you have any questions related to each of those topics, we definitely encourage you to answer them or ask them in the comments below. So continuing on, Dan, any other equipment highlights we should go through, like tractor availability, trailer availability, anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really proud of our maintenance system as a whole, and we do a fantastic job of keeping our equipment in good working order, not only for drivers that are active, but also as we're in processing a new driver, we want to get that equipment up as quickly as possible. So, our goal is 99% trailer availability. So we want to make sure that we've got the equipment available for our customers to put the freight in, but also we're at 98.5% tractor availability as well. And so that's a key metric that we focus on to make sure that we keep that equipment up and running as efficiently as possible. And we watch that really close each and every day. And then, the other aspect of that, as you think about our maintenance network of just maintaining our own equipment, right? And that's one of the things that we take a lot of pride in at Schneider, of making sure that we maintain as much of that ourselves as possible, versus having to leverage the vendors in the network as well.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about our 100% company-owned intermodal chassis and how much our drivers appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So very similar on the maintenance side, right? When you own that chassis, it's a lot different than when you're just borrowing that chassis from a rail yard, right? So obviously we can take a lot better care of it. Our drivers are more prideful with that equipment, and we have more controls over that from a maintenance perspective as well, to make sure that it's in good working order, versus maybe a box of chocolates that you never know what you're going to get when it comes to a leased chassis. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know there's a lot of cool technology that we're focused on right now. I've heard a lot about the MirrorEye mirrorless truck technology, and then our electric semi trucks. Could you touch on both of those a little bit?
Yep. So two really neat emerging technologies that we're working with. So the MirrorEye is essentially replacing mirrors with smaller cameras. So you get an aerodynamic efficiency. So that's really the last frontier on a tractor. That's the only thing that really sticks out on a tractor from an aerodynamics perspective. But that technology also allows us to get some different views with those cameras compared to a mirror. So it pans as you're backing. So it'll actually adjust the mirror angle for you. And then obviously in low visibility, nighttime, severe weather type incidents, the camera actually performs a lot better. So it gives you a lot better nighttime vision, and just have gotten nothing but positive feedback from the drivers that have piloted that. We're in the process of doing a couple hundred more tractors with that technology to continue that pilot and make a good decision on what we want to do. But really neat technology that I think will be certainly the wave of the future, but helps from a safety perspective, but also just from a driver capability. It's been a real good positive for us. And you mentioned the electric truck fleet. Really excited about that fleet. So we've announced a 62 truck fleet in Southern California. So out of our El Monte, California intermodal facility. So those trucks were right in the middle of the process of getting the infrastructure set up for that now, but also then to get ready for the delivery of those trucks later this year and into next year. We'll start to see those trucks landing in Southern California. We've obviously piloted one, had some really great driver feedback on those. So excited about the deployment of our EV fleet out there. And that's just the beginning, right? So as we think about the future, that's where the industry is moving towards. And we obviously want to be on the front half of that, of figuring that out and understanding it, but also implementing it as quickly as we can. So
yeah, that's awesome. We have been getting a few questions, so we'll take a quick break and answer these. So Ron says the lane assistance speaker is too loud. It's a distraction because it scares you sometimes. It's just too loud.
Great feedback, and certainly something that we've provided that feedback to the OEMs as well on we need a bit of a dial on that versus a lever of an on or off type of a switch, because obviously we feel it's important technology to have, but it also can't be distracting.
Yeah.
And so that's certainly something that we're working with the OEMs of how can we manage that volume, if you will, a little bit more efficiently. But again, this is relatively new, and we're trying to work through some of those bugs that will continue to work with our OEMs to help try to manage that as effectively as possible. But
Sure.
Fantastic question. I mean, we have gotten that feedback. It's certainly something that we're aware of and we're working towards. So.
Okay. Don says, does the maintenance shops have the ability to adjust or calibrate the side sensors every time he has a trailer to the right of him, backing after a certain point, it trips that annoying alarm?
Yeah, Don, we'd absolutely love to take a look at that and understand it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't do that. And so there may be a setting that we can adjust with that. So certainly bring that into any of the company shops, and we'll take a look at it and see if we can adjust that. If not, we can better understand it and provide that feedback to the OEMs as well. And hey, we may need to do a larger adjustment when it comes to that if we're seeing more of those. But I haven't heard that specific one. So that may just be something that we can adjust within the shop. Okay. Great call.
And then Candy asks, are there trackers on the trailers to find empty trailers?
Yeah, sure are. Great question, Candy. So what we have on all of our trailing units is a solar powered trailer tracking device on it. So it tells us the status of that trailer, so if it's empty or loaded, and then it also gives us the location of those trailers, so we can keep track of them, but also understand when they're unloaded and when they're available to be dispatched to a driver. So we've actually had that technology for a number of years, and we've adjusted and adapted it very similar to all this technology, right? As improvements happen, we look for the best solution and have made those enhancements to our trailer tracking systems over the years as well. So
great. All right, so we'll continue on. So we've talked a lot about the equipment, but then there's the maintenance side that keeps all of this great equipment running.
Yeah.
So can we discuss some of the maintenance team highlights and what that team is doing to ensure drivers can get back on the road as quickly as possible?
Yep, absolutely. And obviously I'm very biased towards our maintenance group since I get to work with a fantastic group of technicians every day. So we have over 700 Schneider technicians across our network that are the primary maintenance providers for all of our company equipment. So we have 25 full service shops across the network, and then we've got another about 30 service sites that are maybe smaller in nature, but they're to get our drivers up and running as quickly as possible compared to using a vendor to do that work. And then we've got about 80 service trucks that we also go to customer locations, and that's primarily focused on trailers, but they'll have quick type tractor fixes that if you run into a Schneider service truck in a yard and you need something quick, go ask them and they may have it and get you back on the road a lot quicker. And that's the area that we're continuing to expand on. So over the next year, we'll have another 20 service trucks that we're adding to our fleet, and that's really to get us closer to where our business is growing. We've had some fantastic dedicated growth over the last year and a half, and that doesn't always run through one of those 25 shops that we talked about. So we've got to get creative and figure out how to get to that equipment and make sure that we maintain it. We feel that we do a much better job from a maintenance perspective compared to vendors. Obviously, there's a place for our vendors. We have a vast network of vendors that we leverage as well, but we prefer to do that maintenance ourselves. And as you think about the value of that, is we don't need to wait in line at our company shops. Right? So just like most other service type businesses, it's tough to find good technicians. And when you're waiting in line at a dealership or at a vendor, you're next in line, right? And at a Schneider shop, you're first in line, and we're going to prioritize that work and get you in and out as quickly as possible, versus having to wait as the next stop at a vendor location. And obviously, we feel like we've just done a fantastic job of building those relationships with the OEMs to have well-trained technicians. We constantly are training our technicians on the latest technology, and obviously do our own as much of our own work as possible. At times, we'll bend some of that work out, and that's where our vendors can be helpful for us. But our bias is do as much of that in our company shops or service sites or service trucks as possible.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I also know that there is an emergency maintenance team at Schneider that can help drivers during times of like an emergency when they're having an equipment malfunction. Can you tell us a little bit about who's on this team and what exactly type of services they can provide to our drivers?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so we have a 24/7 Schneider Emergency Maintenance Group, so we call it SEM. I get stuck talking about acronyms a lot. But our Schneider Emergency Maintenance Group is there to support our drivers. I mean, that's the only job that they have, is if there is an unfortunate situation where a driver does break down and they are over the road or they're at a customer location and have identified a trailer that is out of service, then they can call that group and we will problem solve it on that call to make sure that we understand what the situation is. It might be a self-help item where we can just walk a driver through what they need to do if they're not sure, or they have a question about a code on their truck or a tire or whatever it is. We'll first try to problem solve that with the driver. If it's deemed that it is a out of service piece of equipment, then we'll solution that with either a Schneider service truck that I talked about earlier, or we'll look to get that routed to a company shop primarily, or a vendor if needed. And if we need to send a vendor out, we'll obviously do that as well. But they just do a fantastic job of kind of managing that and working through that. We also have what we call an SEMI app, so the Schneider Emergency Maintenance Interactive app. And what that does is it's an app that is on the tablet that I talked about earlier, that if there is an issue, they can the driver can select that as an option, asks a few questions, and then that gets sent over to our SEM group. It has the capability for us to then chat with the driver. We can do some pictures, we can do some video as well as needed, but it helps us kind of speed up some of that process. And if you don't want to call in, you can just do it on an app, and we'll be just as effective, if not a little bit more effective on the response time.
That's great.
With that, so
in the emergency maintenance team, those individuals a lot of them have maintenance experience themselves, right? Like they're previous diesel technicians and stuff.
Great call out. I mean, that is the ideal candidate for us, is someone that maybe has been a technician their whole life, and being a technician isn't always the easiest on the body as it ages. And so this is a great opportunity for some really experienced technicians that maybe want to get a little break from turning wrenches to help out and help problem solve. So very, very technical in nature. And that just really helps us speed up the process as well, right? So if there is hey, I'm not sure, it's great to be able to talk to a technician or a former technician that really knows the truck and knows the equipment and can help problem solve that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looks like we're getting a few more questions. So Ron says the Find My Trailer app may need an update. It will show that a trailer is empty when it's loaded, and he finds it's easier to open the trailers, find it empty, and make sure it's clear of defects before getting back on the road. Yeah,
so I haven't heard that feedback directly. I don't get too involved in the find an empty application itself, but I certainly can follow back up on providing that group some feedback on potential issues. I'm guessing they're aware of them. I'm not that close to that technology. So.
Sounds good. Yeah. And then Don asked, is there plans to expand the emergency maintenance team?
Yeah, sure is. We're actually in the process of adding some additional technicians to help with that work.
Oh, great.
So we're continuing to expand that group, both here in Green Bay as the primary group that we have supporting that. But we've also, through COVID, you learn some different things, right? And so we had some folks working from home during COVID, and we said, hey, boy, we can offer this up in some of our shop locations as well, and to get some of those technicians that can help support this as well. So we've actually had some success with some pods and some of those OCs as well to help. And it's a great avenue again for those technicians to help jump in and be a part of that. So yeah, we're continuing to expand that entire group, and both in numbers but also geography.
Yeah, so. That's great. And Jeremy has just some feedback. He said the SME app is great. It's faster than a phone call.
Awesome. Appreciate the feedback, Jeremy. Yep. That's the goal. So I'm glad it's working out well for you.
So again, we are live. So continue asking your maintenance and equipment related questions, and we will answer them as we're going through our other topics. So moving into the driver ambassador program, we've heard a lot about the maintenance driver ambassador program lately. Can you talk about who these individuals are that make up this team?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a great initiative that we actually started last year, and this was based on driver feedback that we've gotten on just that initial experience, right? With I may just be a brand new driver coming out of school, and we went through Schneider orientation, and I get thrown the keys to a truck and go forth and do good things, right? And so we saw a gap there that a couple of our shop leaders got together and problem solved that to say, hey, we can do this better. So how do we put the right resources against this? And what we came up with is leveraging, again, some of our senior technicians in the shop that know the equipment really well, but are also personable and are going to be able to have a good interaction with a brand new driver and be patient with them. But the intent is for that technician, that driver, to meet at the truck and do kind of a overview of the functionality of the truck, right? So we do a fantastic job on our training of training how to drive. But there's a lot of functions of the truck that aren't as critical in the training program, but are really critical if you're going to be in that truck for sure days on end, right? And so this group will meet with that driver and kind of go through the how-tos of some of the driver creature comforts that we talked about earlier, how to use them, what to do, but also walk through any of the new technology that is being implemented. So it may be an experienced driver that is in a Freightliner and maybe moving to an Navistar, right? So brand new type of truck for that driver, even though they've got experience, they may not have experience with that OEM. So we'll walk them through that as well and show them the differences between an OEM spec, and make sure that they're comfortable with the operation of the truck, but also give them some hints on some how-tos on the maintenance side to ensure that they have what they need to be successful to start their career with Schneider. And then ultimately give them a card that gives them a point of contact, right? For, hey, if you got a how-to question, if you got a non-emergency issue, then call the shop and then they'll help kind of walk that driver through the how-to of that truck. Because you go through training, you get all this stuff thrown at you, and you're inevitably going to forget something, right? And so it's a good phone a friend card that driver can use of, all right, I know they told me how to use this bunk heater, but I can't remember how to use this bunk heater. Right. Give us a call, and our shops are available 24/7 to help on those how-to questions as well. So if it's a non-emergency, we want you to use that avenue and get your questions answered and get you back out on the road. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Anything else that we haven't covered today that you wanted to talk about regarding maintenance, equipment, the ambassador program?
Yeah, like I said, I am certainly proud of our maintenance group at Schneider. I think they do a fantastic job. They are there to ensure that our drivers are successful. And, our mission in maintenance is to provide safe, reliable equipment at a low cost for our business. And we do that each and every day. I certainly challenge folks to one, come to Schneider and take advantage of that. But two, if you're an existing Schneider driver, certainly continue to leverage our Schneider facilities. And I'm always open for feedback as well, for things that we can improve on. So certainly always looking for feedback on where we can improve too. So
awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It's super insightful. If you have any additional questions related to maintenance or equipment, you can still ask them down below, and we'll make sure that we answer them shortly. And then if you're interested in a driving job at Schneider, make sure you go to schneiderjobs.com, or you can give a recruiter a call at 800-44-PRIDE. Thanks again for watching.